If you are interested in advertising with our station, get a hold of Dave at 440-503-0828. For all of our programming information, check our Redline Radio LLC pages on social media, such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Want to take Redline Radio on the go? Download our Redline Radio LLC app on the Google Play Store. Growing Wings Adult Services is the official sponsor of the State-of-the-Art Studio 2. Growing Wings Adult Services has 5 years of experience of taking care of adults with disabilities. For more information, call Lisa at 234-334-7547.
What's up, Redline Nation? Lee Money here. And, I've always been a fan of NASCAR. And one of the coolest collectibles that I always remember having when I was a kid growing up, and even when I was a teenager, was the number 3 Dale Earnhardt car. I always tried to make sure I got the new one every year when it came out, and it had to have that Intimidator logo on the side of it, just like Dale intimidated everybody on the track. And, I get all my NASCAR diecast needs from Pit Road Diecast. They are the official sponsors of not only the Scoop, but also of Steel City Renegades. So if you or your family need any diecast cars just in time for Christmas, you can call Pit Road Diecast at 216-355-2347. And of course, if you mention Redline Radio, the Scoop, or Steel City Renegades, you receive 10% off your in-store purchase. That's Pit Road Diecast, 216-355-2347.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the debut of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth, brought to you in part by Redline Radio. Glad to be here, fellas. Glad to be online. Taking a new step in a new direction. I'd like to thank Redline Radio for this opportunity. And without a doubt, joining me as always is Ronnie Big Smooth Hennigan. Smooth, what's up, man?
Man, I am doing good, Mel. Shout out to Redline Radio for this opportunity. Man, I am so excited to be here. What's going on with you, brother? How you doing?
Oh, that's my bad. Try again, Ronnie.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here, man. Shout out to Redline Radio for the opportunity, man. I'm so excited to do this and to, continue on this journey, man. What's good with you, Mel?
Oh, you know what? It's been a cool day, and it's even funnier because I was on the way here, and I was right next to this lady on the freeway was picking her nose. This was hilarious.
Oh my! Did she eat it?
I hope not. I drove past as soon as she saw me see her pick it.
I had to ask, man. I'm weird like that.
Because I thought she was for a minute. Then she looked over and happened to see me, so I was like, "Yeah, I better just hit the pedal to the metal, because that's awkward." All right, before we get started, this segment of our show is brought to you in part by Crystal Clean Services. You're not clean unless you're crystal clean. Call Crystal today at 440-506-1355. If you mention Redline Radio, you get 10% off your cleaning. So call that lady, hit her up, call Crystal, let's get it cleaning. And the other part of this show is brought to you in part by Uncle Rico's quarter-mile challenge. You want your quarterbacks to start slinging the pill or throwing over them mountains, Uncle Rico's quarter-mile challenge is where it's at. All right. Um, First topic, because this is an interesting topic going into what should be spring training, is Major League Baseball. As we both know, they got the lockout going on. Talks is basically about money. We already know it's about the money. Uh, the owners rather wanted a federal arbitrator, and the players said no. Now, this is the part where I respect baseball so much because without the players, as we already know, there is no sport.
True.
And the good thing about this is the part where we see all the players holding the power. So, my question to you is, do we see spring training, or are we going to be missing some games, and or are we just going to have to deal with a shortened season like we did with COVID?
I'm thinking that we end up with a shortened season. I wouldn't say like half or anything that big because according to, NBC News, they were talking about how they're supposed to have more talk starting today with the commissioner and, whoever else is involved with that. I believe it was Union head Tony Clark. That's who it was. So with regards to that, so far they said that they've already canceled 3 more days of spring training games through March 7th.
And
So
that's
that
still
is the current update with that. There are some exhibition games that were supposed to begin, but they're not aware of that, time frame yet as well either. So to your point, I feel like we will miss some. I don't think they're gonna like do a, half a season situation. I think possibly we may see like a quarter of that missing because it's gaining momentum, air quotes. But I feel like overall, we know how these things go, man. It can go pretty slow if they're not willing to bend for the players. But yeah, man, I'm thinking we could end up missing like a good quarter of those games, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I
and
really
you
am
know
not.
what? And I am too. And I want to actually, before I start, Lee, can you cue up that punch real quick because I want to give this to the owners because you know with all due respect, we get it. If you own a team, you deserve it. And yeah, they deserve that. But when you own a team, you have to take your players into consideration. Reason being is because, this is what drives your organization from
Mhm.
top. All right, we get it. From the top down, it's owners, it's coaches, players, etc. But in this situation, you have a lot of responsibility to these players. Number one,
Mhm.
and case in point, we talked about this before we even got over the red line. You are just now getting the minor league players housing. Like, how does that work? Why are you just now doing that now?
Mhm.
It's
It makes
20.
no sense.
Yeah, it's 2022. You should have did this back in 1998, 99. You know,
Right. Cause,
and I,
and
I
for those
just
who don't,
go ahead.
and for those that don't know, the last time we had a stoppage was '95, right? And you
Hmm.
figure, with it being damn near 30 years, something should have happened back then, to your point, Mel, right? So you figure for us to just now hear this week that they feel like they're moving in a positive direction, that only tells us that they're still talking. It doesn't really mean a whole lot because there's nothing solidified yet. But yeah, I agree with that, man. Like, if you had a situation back in '95, it's 2022, and you're just now getting to that point, it only could like give us a feeling of how slow it's going to go, in terms of their actual negotiations and what they're trying to bring forth. Man.
Right. And the thing about it is, I think what people are missing is the fact that when you are a player, you are one of the most hard hit, strung out on, stress, sometimes pain medication to stay afloat, especially in baseball and basketball, because you're playing
Mhm.
night after night, literally. And the fact that I don't think the owners are not being inconsiderate, I just think they are not taking this as serious as they should, is the fact that these type of things take a toll on players.
Mhm.
And because they take a toll on players, you miss the part where you need to be compensated correctly. And in the case of the minor leagues, y'all need housing, if anything. And that's the part where I think most people don't pay attention to, like how bad some players in some sports really got it. Like yeah, Mookie Betts and them is making 300 million, but what about that guy that's not Mookie Betts? He's a consistent player. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not equal all the way around. And granted, it shouldn't be because, some players are the face of the franchise. Go back to Frank Thomas, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, King Griffey, things of that nature. But at the same time, why are you just now, 95? That should have been the way. All right, we got to get our minor league players housing. Cool. And then 30 years later, you still aren't, you still aren't doing right by the players. Like, think about this. The Indians or Guardians, sorry, Lee. The Guardians
Go ahead and call them the Indians all you want because I think the new name is stupid.
Oh man, I actually met up with the roller derby team. So yeah, we'll stick to Indians for now. So the Indians are one of the worst as far as payroll is concerned. And I know everybody thinks they're like, you can't really say that because the Indians had, Frankie Lindor and Yasiel Puig and all of that. Yeah, those players were expensive too, and they were expensive to keep. Now imagine if they could compete with New York, Boston, LA. Those are three of the biggest sports markets in all three sports: football, basketball, baseball. Those are the top three: New York, LA, and Boston. You got the Red Sox, you got the Yankees, you got the Dodgers. How do you compete with that money wise when there's a player can help your team, but you can't afford him? And that's the problem the Dolans have had since they bought the team. They can't keep anybody. So you have to give these guys credit to a degree as, they're trying to hold up ship and trying to keep everybody that they feel they can. I mean, let's face it. In about a year or two, Bieber might be gone. And Bieber's my favorite pitcher. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. He might be gone because they can't afford him.
Yeah. And you're onto something with that, man, because you figure we've seen this time and time again with the team. You get a guy who you bring in, the farm system has always been amazing,
Mm-hmm.
right? They'll groom a guy, get him up there, he's cheap in the beginning, and then of course he earns his due. He's an all-star and gets all this praise and, exposure or whatnot, killing people when it comes to like the stats and all that. And then, like you said, those bigger markets hear it or they see it and they go, okay, yeah, bring that guy in. You know what I mean? And you figure this is a sport that doesn't have a cap. So it's,
Absolutely not. And
hard to compete with that.
That was where I was going at. Yeah, that was where I was going at with my next point because this is the only American sport that doesn't have a salary cap. So because baseball doesn't have a salary cap, Mookie Betts and go back to Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and them, all of them, they can make 100 million, 200 million because where is the cap? And I don't think the owners have a problem with that. Granted, over 162 games, you're gonna bring in some type of money. So I don't think that's the problem. I think they want to try and stop, quote unquote, stop it from getting out of hand because 300 million is a lot to pay somebody, and then they end up trading the guy before his contract is well up. Mark my words, you're going to see Mookie Betts, you're going to see a lot of these $300 million contracts. You're going to see them playing in other places well before they get to that term of the contract where it either needs to be negotiated or it comes back to re-signing that person. So don't be surprised if this lockout is to keep the players from trying to milk the market or milk the teams and the owners for what it's worth. I don't think that's a bad thing, but that could be where we're headed, which is why the lockout is ensued.
And in addition to that, I agree with you. And I feel that not only is it a matter of them being milked forward, but like you said earlier, they have to be paid what they're due. And they know flat out what these owners are making. And considering how,
Mm-hmm.
prices have been inflated and whatever else you got going on, of course, like us having a full season, you know, after the pandemic had began, and then going to now where you got stadiums that can be filled up again, they're gonna capitalize on that, and people are hungry for it, right?
And
This is a
think
time
about this.
where it's gonna go up for that reason.
Yeah, and think about this. After the Indians made the World Series, even though they lost, season tickets went up. The price of season tickets went up. So think about that as opposed to baseball. Football, the Browns made it to the playoffs last year, beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, beat them twice in back-to-back weeks.
Let's not talk about that.
No. I'm not saying that to be funny, Lee. I know it's a sore spot. It's a sore spot for me too. But what I'm getting at is the next season ticket prices went up.
Did you see how bad the season tickets went up this year for the Browns?
Oh, it was a whole 10% increase.
Yeah, they were saying that the worst seats in the stadium went from like $200 to $500.
Exactly. That's my point. So, and this is why I love baseball, because this shows you if you take a stand as a player, you got power. This is why, and this is my personal belief. I don't care what anybody says. This is why everybody hated Jordan and hated LeBron currently, because the players are starting to realize they have power.
Yep.
And because they have the power, they're starting to do something about it. LeBron told, and everybody knows this, if you don't want to admit this, I'm convinced you're smoking something that ain't been discovered. Everybody knows Dan Gilbert, owner of the Cavs, he's not a cheap owner. But if he doesn't feel like it's worth it, he's not going to do it, which is why the Cavs fell apart after David Griffin left, the general manager. So what did LeBron do? Before LeBron left in 2007, there were 6 free agents that the Cavs could have picked up to help them win that title against the Spurs. Stoudemire, Mike Bibby, I believe Jason Kidd was at one point. That's just off the top of my head. And Gilbert said no, he was not going to get him. Okay, but you won't listen to me. I'll go to David Griffin. Griffin was the go-between between Gilbert and LeBron. Gilbert still said no. All right, I'm going to go to Florida and play with my boys. That's what happened. He came back. He got the word out. I'm coming back to Cleveland. That's what made all these players want to come. Richard Jefferson, Iman Shumpert. That's what made them want to come. Because playing with LeBron is like playing with Jordan to a degree. So when it comes to baseball, the only reason you can't build super teams like that is because you couldn't afford them. But what you can do is buy or rent a face of the franchise for 5, 6, 7 years and be okay. But the owners are sick of paying out $300 million. And to be honest, this is the Yankees' fault. This is all New York Yankees' fault. Think about this. Who was the first one or one of the first players to get a $100 million contract? Derek Jeter. So if he could get $100 million, what did you think Sammy and them were going to say before they retired? Shit, if he can get $100 million, I can get $100 million. And so on and so forth. So now the owners are pretty much with a canoe or stuck up a body cavity I can't mention on the air, because these players are tired of getting chump change and you're bringing in more than what you can pay.
I mean, you can say it. He's got a canoe oar stuck up his asshole.
Oh yeah, he does. Because you as an owner are bringing in so much money. I am convinced. What the NFL brought in? What 20 something billion dollars last year?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what baseball is bringing in, and their season is longer.
But that's my whole point. I mean, it's like, I don't even think they need a salary cap. They need a salary base to where like every team has to spend this amount of money on their rosters. Because I honestly do think that Frankie Lindor would never have left Cleveland.
Oh no.
If they had a salary basement or a salary base to where they could sit there and say, okay, Frank, Guardians, Indians, name that should have never been changed team from Cleveland. Here's your base salary. You have that to pay your superstars. And then whatever you have over that is what you can use to pay the rest of your players.
Right.
But I definitely think that's something that baseball is lacking. I don't necessarily think they need a cap.
No, they don't need a cap because they bring in way too much money.
Right.
Way too much money.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you wanted to, you couldn't cap it.
Right. But I do think that if every team had a salary base, at least then maybe, I'm not saying it's going to work, but maybe they can get some of those attendance numbers back up.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And you know what? And you bring up a good point, Lee. Like, okay, So let's go with that for a sec, right? You have a base salary, okay? That's one thing. And then baseball also could afford to do something similar to what the NFL has, where it's like, okay, I don't want to let this guy go necessarily this year, and you have a franchise tag, right? You say, okay, he gets tagged or whatever. This season, he's going to make, I don't know, 15, 20 mil, whatever it is, right? And then you're guaranteed to have that person for that extra year or whatever. And then they can go into those contracts later and be able to negotiate whatever it is. But it also goes back to what you were saying, Mel, about, renting that face or that person that's going to bring those
That
people
franchise
in.
tag that y'all mentioned, that's what arbitration is. That's basically what arbitration is. It's a franchise tag. But a lot of players have realized that arbitration is for them to take a pay cut instead of actually getting the money that they felt they deserved or getting the money that was guaranteed in the contract. So I think if they were smart enough to say, okay, we got to find a better way to go about arbitration, I think arbitration would work a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly do. But
yeah, this arbitration system is not for the players. It's for the owners.
It's for the owners. They want them to take a pay cut. And I'm only saying this in the sense of trying to keep Frankie Lindor and trying to keep Shane Bieber, and at the time trying to keep Puig and Reyes, if the arbitration would have said, or the arbitrator and ownership would have said, look, we're trying to keep the team together. Will you be nice enough to take a pay cut so we can pay all of y'all for the next 2 years? I think Frankie would have stayed, because that would have made it to where now we got some room where we can either find another owner, which they should have been doing, or they can build a case as to what they can do to keep him. Give away some prospects. Fine. We got the best farm system in all of MLB. Fine, I'll take that. But when you tell me in a meeting, you got to take a pay cut, I ain't got nothing else to tell you. Yeah, I got a problem with that. As a player, you can kiss my ass.
Right.
Because,
and there's no transparency.
Yeah, because my contract says you're supposed to pay me this amount of money. Mm-hmm. And now you bringing me into this meeting saying I need to? No, it's not flying with me. And you wonder why we can't keep these players. After 97, gutting the team is one thing. Sending sending Albert Bell to Chicago and Kenny to the Angels or whatever is one thing. But when you bring me into a room with you, the general manager, my agent, and whoever else, and tell me I need to, now these players are starting to say, all right, I'm sick of this shit. So yeah, now you got a problem. And this arbitration is baseball's idea of a franchise tag, and this is kicking them in the ass. So I'm not surprised at this. And you know what? This is if you follow the pattern, this is what happens every time the players say no. The owners lock them out. And what's crazy about this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't a player have surgery not too long ago, and now he can't even see the team doctors because of the lockout? It's a well-known pitcher, and he can't even see the team doctor, so he's got to go to an outside source. So, in essence, as a owner, you're kind of being stupid right now because, like I said, he's a well-known pitcher. I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a well-known pitcher. He's one of the top pitchers in the league, and you can't even let him see his own team doctors to see how progress is going. Now he got to go to an outside source, and you wonder why these players are sick of y'all. This is why I wish George Steinbrenner was still alive, because Steinbrenner had some sense.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Steinbrenner has some sense. He had sense enough to know, look, I need y'all to make me some money.
I've never seen it like this. I've never seen it in sports.
It's only in baseball.
And it's a bad investment too, because you figure if you got a guy who is going to help your franchise out, right, in that level, and then you're not willing to do the bare minimum, which is for him to see his inside doctor. And you got to keep in mind too, like when you start switching doctors up, we start going to different places or whatever, not everybody's going to have the same opinion.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's like, you got him on timeline. You say, okay, we need him by this time frame so he can be available for us to play, right? Well, the thing is, if you go to somebody else, you may say, oh, well, I feel you may need an extra few weeks or extra few months, right? Then you're screwed because now you got to figure out who can I replace this guy with temporarily to make sure that I have the pitching that I need to be able to win these games. It just creates a whole other scenario that shouldn't be there if you just follow through on what you're supposed to do from the beginning. That's all I'm saying.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And for those that actually are watching and want to call in, if you want to call in, you can call the Fitz Trash Bin Cleaning Services hotline at 440-444-7251. We'll be ready and willing to argue with y'all just off of GP. That's really all I have for baseball. You know, I want to see the owners do right by the players. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we get into these next two sports, you're gonna see a big difference for those watching. You're gonna see a big difference in how things are handled. So, you know, just pay attention to baseball the next couple of weeks because if we don't have a season or if we don't have at least some exhibition games going by like March 20th, it's gonna be an issue. It's gonna be a big ass issue.
Yeah, there's no create a huge gap too because you figure we're all like sitting back, NBA just had their All-Star week, and then you got, potential playoffs coming up here, championships and all of that. Once the NBA ends, once college ends, and we're all anticipating the return of NFL and, college football, baseball gets the main stage, man. And of
Yeah,
course, you got hockey still going on and all that, but that's going to end too, and it's still going to be baseball. So if you don't have it, a lot of people are going to be upset. A lot of people are going to be upset. And that's an understatement, really. That's an understatement.
yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, speaking of basketball, we're gonna move over to basketball real quick, and we got a lot of shit to talk about in basketball. Um, First off, as we all saw on the NCAA side, Juwan Howard smacks the shit out of the Wisconsin head coach for some, what I guess what he felt was disrespectful moves is calling timeouts and the game's over. But here's my thing. We all looking at the one side of it as to, Juwan Howard smacking the coach. But my question is, what was said in the interaction? What was said to Juwan for him to go just haul off and want to smack him? Because in my time of watching basketball, Latrell Sprewell, one thing. Ron Artest, another thing. Seeing Juwan Howard just smack somebody for no reason, that's something totally different. I have never seen somebody piss Juwan Howard off to the point where he want to smack you. So what was really said in that interaction with him and that coach that we didn't get a chance to see?
I wonder about that too, man, because when you look at the video, right, that's been played over and over again, whether you go to, Yahoo Sports, ESPN, whatever your source is, right? And you watch it and you see them approach in the middle. And as he's walking by, Jawan probably going to give him like a quick little dap, keep moving, whatever. Grabs the guy's arm, stops him for a sec. He's talking to him. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you grabbed my arm. You said whatever you said, you get pissed off, y'all argue when people get between you, right? And then at that time frame, of course, you had that big blow up. We all seen it. And to your point, I mean, it went from literally like a small conversation to like him having his eyes get all big and, something said. And to me, in my opinion, from what I saw, it's the Rudolph Garrett situation again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, bro, you said something went down in there that wasn't caught on the mic, and for you to react that way, because we've seen Juwan Howard's career. He don't get in the spats and he don't, do things like that. That's just out of character for him. And, forget all the whole, like, I wasn't, being a Michigan man and whatever he said in his statement and all of that. But something had to be said, man, to your point. I want to know what happened. It wasn't just a matter of being like, you suck as a coach or something. I don't know. Who knows what he said, right? We have no idea.
And
We're not gonna go over it.
not only that, everybody was calling for his job. Like, why? Hold up. Time out. I wonder if anybody can go back in time and remember this guy named Bob Knight.
Man.
Now,
Ooh.
if you don't know who Bob Knight is, if you're too young to hear the term Bob Knight is arguably, and I'm definitely saying this biasly, he's arguably one of the best coaches in all of NCAA basketball history.
ESPN 30 for 30 did a documentary on him too.
Yeah. So go watch that ESPN 30 for 30 if you don't know who he is. But to shorten this up, Bob had a temper. Yeah. Bob would smack you because the wind was blowing. Okay. Bob would have so many outbursts over bad calls, a bad play. He didn't agree with what a fan said behind him. Bob even threw a chair on the court.
I was just about to mention, do you remember the chair?
He threw a chair on the court. Bob threw a chair on the court. Nobody said shit.
Nothing.
Nobody said fire him. Nobody said go grab his grandma, hold her hostage for 15 minutes. Nothing. He threw a chair on the court. Could have hurt one of his players or somebody else, a ref, anybody. And no call for his job. I get it. The times are different now. I get it. Totally get it. You know, cancel culture's out there. The correction committee, everybody's out there. But at the same time, you got to remember, this is when all we had for sports outlets to broadcast this type of news, especially when Bob Knight is one of the faces of college basketball as far as coaching is. You got ESPN, you got ABC, you got CBS, Fox to a degree. Those are 4 markets where national TV is being shown. So that game that you're coaching, everybody see it. And nobody said shit. Juwan Howard didn't even use a closed fist, which I thought he should have if he was that mad. If you're going to go all the way, go all the way. But the fact that he used an open hand slap and dropped an F-bomb, that should show you right there. And history will tell you, Juwan Howard in the NBA didn't have a lot of times where he lost his cool to the point he was going to drop somebody.
Right.
So if those two acts of violence don't show you, the evidence is clear, something was said to him that he didn't like, and then you see Bob Knight over a bad call throw a chair on the court, something should tell you it's more to this than what we originally thought.
I got the video.
Oh, play the video.
Yeah, it's gonna take me a second to set it up, but I got the video.
Yeah, whenever you get it, play the video. But like, just think about that. You, Ronnie, we the same age. Lee, I'm pretty sure we all the same age in here.
37.
Yeah, we ain't never. I seen Latrell Sprewell 2-piece Kobe and choke.
Still played that season.
Right, and still played. Still played. Who was that? Who's with the shirt off? Who always got the shirt off? Used to play for us when we won the championship.
J.R. Smith.
Yeah.
J.R. Smith. Yep.
The coach. Still played. Ron Artest. A fan throws a beer at him. All the fan gets is a quote unquote ban from the arena. Ron Artest loses money, loses a season. They got a documentary on that about that on Netflix.
They most certainly do.
So obviously, ain't nobody paying attention to the fact that you are, and it's true in sports. It is true. The second man always gets caught. But when you go back and look at the tape, one, that coach did not have to grab Juwan Howard. Let him go about his business. Number 2, what did you say?
Yep.
Exactly.
What did you say? I don't care that he smacked you at that point. What did you say that pissed him off to the point he wanted to lay hands on you?
All right, here's the Bob Knight video.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into it.
Okay. Come on. There we go. We'll keep it muted just because of copyright.
And that's a young Bob Knight, too.
Mm-hmm. And in this scenario, just to kind of, go over what happened here and the reason why he threw that chair, keep in mind, y'all, the Hoosiers during that time frame, They were called for their third foul in 59 seconds. Who has 3 fouls
I don't know.
in basketball in
Unless you
59 seconds?
unless you
When?
intentionally fouling,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But never saw it. Now, keep in mind, after Bob Knight threw the chair on the court, nothing happened. He didn't get a suspension that I remember.
And I think that was one of like the final straws that the Hoosiers had with him.
Yeah.
Before they finally let him go.
But he
choked a player out, and that's what finally got him fired.
Well, yeah, that was it.
Okay, well
that was pretty much it.
That's still 2 instances. That's still 2 instances where strike 1, you throw the chair. Strike 2, you choke out a player. And then after Indiana fired him, he still got another job at Texas Tech.
And he's now in the Hoosiers Hall of Fame.
Ain't that some shit? You done choked out a player. You done threw a chair on the court. Now, granted, I will say.
And that thing went all the way across the court.
And
that should have been 3 points for the Hoosiers.
Now, and on top of that, like we said, he still got another job at Texas Tech and was there for like another, 10 years, 10, 15 years?
Something like that.
Regardless, he was there for a tenure. He wasn't there for a spell. He was there for a tenure. Still got another job. Why are y'all calling for Juwan Howard's job? He just got the job, number 1. Number 2, why are y'all calling for this man's job over some shit that's been done by coaches in every sport at some point?
You know, and here's the thing that boggles me. And it boggles me about the Myles Garrett, Mason shouldn't have a job Rudolph situation too. Because we all know that the Steelers and the Browns were mic'd up that night. But yet the NFL claims there's zero audio to that situation.
You know what? Cue that punch up again, because I believe Roger Goodell's lying on that one.
Oh, I know
I'm convinced he's lying. Cue that punch up. Yeah, he can take that one, because I'm convinced he's lying. If you mic both teams up, and keep in mind,
it was the play. No, that wasn't the playoffs. That was the final game of the regular season, and it was Thursday Night Football.
That's national TV.
Right. Both teams are always mic'd up.
And keep in mind, when they mic people up, it's always the star players.
Yeah. And Mason was the star quarterback that night, so he had to be mic'd up.
It's never the kicker. It's never the punter. It's not even the backup center. It's always the star players. So, because Mason Rudolph, because Myles Garrett, Juju, because all of them is mic'd up, how the hell do you not have evidence of something going on?
One bit of audio.
Yeah, they claim there was problems with the audio from that night.
I don't believe that shit.
Neither do I.
You know why I don't believe that shit? Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson has been mic'd, not even Adrian Peterson. Every player has been mic'd up in the NFL at least one time. Since that technology has been provided.
Invented, right.
And on every sideline, on every NFL film show that you see that's got players mic'd up, you hear this. Man, that was some bullshit. Oh, shit. Am I mic'd up?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can catch that, how come you can't catch what Mason Rudolph said to Myles Garrett as he was trying to tear his helmet off?
So here's my question. Obviously, the NCAA basketball is one of the most popular sports out there, especially because of March Madness, and we're a week away from March Madness. You mean to tell me that they don't have those sidelines mic'd up?
Man, no, wait. Here's even better one. The mics that you get are the mics to all the broadcast crews.
Not only that, but that was the end of the game when they were supposed to be doing the handshake across the field.
And the mics are still on.
The mics are still on for the live broadcast. So how do you not have audio? How does all those networks not have audio of what was being said?
That's my point. How do you not catch? There's no fucking way you don't catch that. No way. But because it's the NCAA, and we already know, Ronnie, you already know how I feel about the NCAA.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Biggest criminal organization on the planet.
Outside of the mob. Sorry.
There you go.
But it's true, because you do all the NCAA as a whole brings in just as much money as the NFL.
If not more, because they have all those different sports.
That's my point. And you mean to tell me, for all of the stuff that you do to players, student athletes, excuse me, for all the stuff you do to student athletes. You mean to tell me you didn't have that, or you don't have when there's a bad interaction between a player and a ref, or a player and a coach, or a coach and a coach? I ain't buying that one. I'm not buying it.
Why is it taking all this time for them to give likeness right money?
You know why? Because if you got to pay them,
then they're not students anymore. They're professional athletes.
No, that's not it. That's not it. This is you're in theory, you're correct. But the problem comes is when you got to pay one,
you got to pay them all.
You got to pay them all. You got to pay them all in every sport. What's the biggest draw? What's the biggest money draws in NCAA?
Football and basketball.
Right. So what happens during bowl season? The NCAA gets money because you got these bowl games that are sponsored by Cheez-It, mayonnaise,
Tampax, tampons.
Yeah, and you got your four OG bowls, orange, sugar, rose, and Fiesta. You got that's money, and that's money that they don't want to share. Now,
plus TV revenue.
There you go.
So, on top of that,
yeah. So this is why they don't want it. This is why they're fighting so hard, because that NIL is catching on to that. Every player that's been on NCAA video games, from basketball to football, never got paid.
That's why they stopped making the video games, because the students were complaining.
You using my likeness. Now, granted, you use somebody like Desmond Howard. I don't think Desmond gave a shit, because Desmond's Desmond. Desmond worked for ESPN. We see him every Saturday. But for somebody like Denard Robinson, who got a shot in the NFL, but didn't make it, and you use likeness on next year's game,
on the front cover,
and it's selling millions.
I used to work at Blockbuster, dude. That game, NBA 2K, and Madden were like the top three games that were rented out every day.
Not to mention, go all the way back, if you're going to do it like that, go all the way back to when NCAA was still on the PlayStation 1. Yeah. On the cover, Ricky Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky Williams was fresh out of college when he was on the cover. Why he ain't getting nothing? That's why they don't want you to see what's going on. This is how I learned this. I have friends, we got friends play college football. Did you know there's a rule in the NCAA rule book that states you could get in trouble for your parents? It's a violation for your parents
to send them money.
No, it's a violation for your parents to give you a car.
Yeah, any gift.
But if you steal something as a car, it's up to the school's discretion to punish you.
You see, and that never made sense to me, because it's like if your parents are sending you money, it's not necessarily
that's not a gift. That's a necessity.
Well, right. It's not, and that's exactly what I was going to say. It's not necessarily for them to spend on whatever. It's for them to get by. It's to buy books. It's to buy food, survive. Let's say that they live in a fraternity house off campus.
Oh my God.
And they have to drive to campus to go to class every day. How are they going to get there? Especially if you're in a state with winter.
And just about every state got winter now.
Yeah.
So, and here's another thing. Think about this before we move on. Think about this. When the NCAA tried to put sanctions on this the first time, they got hit with their own medicine, because Northwestern was the one that kicked it off. Northwestern has one of the best law schools in the country. So did you really think you was going to win that battle? Like, come on. Like, you got to be fair. And I'm not saying, and let me make this clear. I'm not saying that the players deserve to be paid an exorbitant amount of money.
No, but they should at least be able to get enough to survive.
Yeah, that's my point. Give them enough.
The stipend is nothing. Stipend is nothing. It is nothing.
They said it best when the program came out. That movie program.
Yep.
They said it best. Alvin Mack said it to Omar Epps. You cannot live off of $500 a month scholarship money. You and your teammates got rent. Y'all got food. Y'all got some type of bill. At the time, they didn't have cell phones, so they didn't have to worry about that. But you still got lights. You still got water.
Internet.
And the landlord ain't caring about that. He don't care that you on the team.
Nope.
He want his money.
So everybody not living in the dorm.
You want to bet? How much do you want to bet and this is just a complete hypothetical. I've never heard of anybody doing this. But if a landlord was willing to waive rent, waive utilities for student athletes to give them a break, how much do you want to bet the NCAA would come down on them and say that free rent and free utilities is a gift?
Oh man,
absolutely. The clearinghouse wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah, we already know. We already know.
Yep.
We already know because
and
they're
then
all
they said too,
to snub it.
Yep.
And then they said to the players themselves, with your scholarship, you can't work.
I know
You know what I mean?
That is bullshit because they still have school-based. They still have school-based expenses.
Well, there's a loophole in that. There's a loophole. You can work,
just not during the season.
No, you can work as long as it's for the school.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have to work in the student center.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you have to be student advisor.
Yep.
School library. That sort
of work studies.
Yeah, work studies. So
or on-campus restaurant, anything that's sponsored by the school.
Sponsored by the school. So that's the only loophole. But how many of them can really do that?
They can't. Because all the other students that actually don't have scholarships and have to pay their tuition are trying to get jobs as well.
So it's a catch-22.
Been there, done that. Yep.
So can we throw a flag on the NCAA then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Throw the flag.
Stop that shit. All right, moving on from Juwan Howard and the NCAA, we're going to move into March Madness. Now, Ronnie, I know you're a Tar Heels fan. I'm sticking with O State on this one, but what do you see coming up with March Madness? Like, do you see anybody who's going to make a big impact, or is it just status quo as far as who gets in and who doesn't?
Oh, it's status quo all day. Because let me tell you, I've been following these games, man, and it seems like every other day there's a major upset or, some kind of lopsided win from teams that you didn't even think would be able to hang with whoever was, either ranked higher or who has more talent. It's like anybody's game this year, man. I feel like what's happening currently is we're starting to see where a lot of the big programs, yes, they're going to get that exposure. They're going to continue to, get some top talent and whatnot. But at the same time, there are teams coming in there like, look, we don't care if you're in the ACC. We don't care if you're in the Big Ten. We don't care if you're, on TV multiple nights during the week or whatever. We coming in here to play. If you ain't ready, we gonna bring it. We gonna get that dub. And I feel like this year, it's not gonna be some team that we were like, oh yeah, I expect them to get it. It's going to be one of them surprises, man. It's going to be one of them like crazy, like 12, 13 seeds, man. I feel like could actually end up doing something this year versus any previous year. And, speaking of the Tar Heels, like they ain't got a shot this year. So it's just kind of hard. I'm not going to jump on that. But like,
they're 12-5. They're fourth place overall behind Notre Dame and Miami, which is surprising because I didn't know Miami was a hooper school. So that just threw me for a loop.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
But okay, but you're still good enough to make it to the tournament. Now,
well, yeah, it'll be a tournament, yeah, but
I look at the reason I'm asking this is because I look at the Big Ten and I look at Ohio State, I look at Wisconsin, and then I look at Purdue and Illinois. Outside of do they? Because I know this hasn't happened in years, but do you think all four of them make it in the same region, or do they split that up?
They'll split it up. They don't like to put the Big Ten collectively together like that. You may see two of them in the same region. So like you may see a Ohio State, Purdue in the same one, or you may see Illinois or let's say even Michigan State or whoever else kind of put together. But they unfortunately won't give them the love like that. They'll do it all day for the SEC and the ACC all day long. You know what I'm saying? Because don't nobody want to see, two teams from the same conference of those two conferences playing each other in the championship. They just don't like that. So they'll lump them all together, But I think it's a smack in the mouth because they don't think that they're going to end up ever having two Big Ten teams in a championship game.
But didn't that happen ago? Didn't that happen at least 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken? Where Michigan State and now Maryland, but back then I believe Maryland was an ACC team, so I guess it doesn't count.
But still, man, I think it's disrespect. I really do. Like, throw them all in the same thing. Let's see what happens. Like, let's get scrappy with it. Like, just they're literally looking at it and going, okay, we're never going to see two of these two teams in the same, in the Final Four or even in the championship game. I feel like they need to do that once in a while, man. Make it interesting or whatever. Like, let's see what happens. Gut it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they'll do it all day for SEC and ACC, all day.
Well, you gotta remember too. Traditionally, as far as the the NCAA is concerned, when it comes to March Madness, ACC and SEC are supposedly Hooper schools, but in theory, they're wrong because the real Hooper schools or Hooper conferences rather are the ACC and the Pac-12.
Correct.
I mean, one of the greatest NBA centers of all time in Kareem come from UCLA. So that shows you, where the real power is. Not anymore, but traditionally, that's where the power was. It was in the Pac-12 because you always had at least 5 Pac-12 teams in the tournament, at least. So, I don't know. I would like to see at least 4 teams from the Big Ten make it because I think that'd be the sleeper conference out of the Power 5 this year. Because I don't think anybody's expecting them to do a good job in the tournament. Because and keep in mind, Ohio State has been to the tournament finals or the semifinals, or Final Four, Elite Eight, whatever you want to call it. They've been there within the last 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Which is hard to do because we see how hard it is to win in basketball, period.
And that's the thing, like the Big Ten has had its representation, year after year. There's somebody always in the tournament, there's somebody who, sneaks into the Sweet 16 or whatever. So representation is going to be there. I would love to see it get a lot further for sure. Like I know we've had like some times where you'll see like UNC go up against like, Michigan State or, games like that that are real pivotal. And I'm looking forward to that happening again real soon. The Big Ten always going to be in there, man. Like I love seeing Big Ten basketball. Honestly, those are very exciting games. Even when they cross conferences and have these different, places where they're flying to Puerto Rico or Hawaii or, all these different type of tournaments they'll have outside of conference play.
You know what?
It's always exciting.
It's funny that you say that because my thing is, how the hell can you afford as the NCAA? How the hell can you afford to do all of this? And you're gonna tell the kids they can't make no money? You could have the Boca Raton Invitational, the Puerto Rico Invitational, the one out in Alaska. You know how fucking expensive it is to go to Alaska, and you got a whole preseason tournament up there. The NIT is wherever they want it, New York, Los Angeles, wherever. Vegas is popping now. You got a tournament out in Vegas. I guarantee you, if the West region is loaded, it'll be in Vegas. At least the first 2 rounds will be in Vegas.
Oh yeah, let it happen. Because Vegas is a big draw for anybody, right? And you figure they thrive off of tourism, obviously, or whatever. And you best believe, like these markets that have been kind of slowed down by the pandemic and what's going on, and for us to be opening up right now, it's the prime opportunity to get ahead of that from a business perspective, right? To capitalize on people coming in wanting to get out there. I know this isn't sport related, but you got the little lovers and friends tour coming up in Vegas and all of that. So stuff is gonna like pick up, man. You know what I'm saying? And now's the time to take advantage of that.
Yeah, man.
So I say let it happen, man.
I'm with it. And okay, early predictions. Who you got in the Final Four? Because I know we're gonna have to go to a break soon. But who you got in the Final Four as of right now?
Ooh, oh my gosh, man, this is a rough one for me. I like Gonzaga right now. Um, as it pains me to say, you know, let's go ahead and throw. Mm-mm-mm. God, I'm sorry, Dad. Let's put the Dookies in there. Um, oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that. If I choke and I die on the show today, you
Uh,
know,
hey,
you'll
look,
know why.
you went out like a champ,
Um,
I'm gonna say.
I like Purdue. I really like Purdue this year. They are scrappy as hell. Throw them in there, you know, and then Pac-12, Pac-12 representation, man. I feel like UCLA could be a sleeper. There's always a weird scenario where people get that far that you didn't think would get in there, so I'm gonna go with that. I could be wrong about all four, you know, but hey, early predictions, crazy predictions. Let's get them in, man. I'm gonna put them four out there right now. My opinion could change next week, so I'm
Hey,
gonna go with that for right now.
but that's the beauty of it. But right now, I wanted to know me. I got Arizona. I got Arizona as one. I I don't see unless something happens in the ACC tournament. I honestly think Carolina could pull it out. They're battle tested enough to where they can go into the tournament and get that far. Give me Wisconsin. Wisconsin is looking really good. And the fact that you beat a Juwan Howard coached Michigan team is saying something. I granted outside of the slap and all of that, you beat a Juwan Howard coached Michigan team with a the coach that was part of one of the most controversial calls in all of college basketball history.
Hmm.
Um, and then I got Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is due. They have to be due. Like they gotta stop bullshitting with me, man. Every time I think they
Yeah,
about to get it, they end up losing. This
that's
should,
why it's so hard.
yeah, this should be the year I think they pull it off. So if they get that far, I do believe they can pull it off because Gonzaga has showed they can beat anybody. It's just those tournament adjustments are what you got to worry about because
Hmm.
literally seeing a new team every game. So
Yeah, and you figure if there was a year to steal one, this would be the year, man.
yeah,
So we'll see.
we thought it would have been a COVID year, but clearly we was wrong.
Yeah, man.
So that's my four right there: Wisconsin, Arizona, um, Gonzaga, and Carolina. All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're gonna stick with basketball. We got some NBA talk, some rumors flying around, some playoff talk, and just all around some shit we might be needing to figure out before the playoffs hit. So we'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
You see them every week on all of our shows, all those beautiful Redline Radio t-shirts. And you want to know where you can get your own Redline Radio t-shirt, or if you need any custom t-shirts, banners, stickers, anything like that made, then you reach out to Incredible Keepsakes. As Diane always says, cherished moments are made to last forever. You can reach Incredible Keepsakes at 440-242-9648, or check out their websites at incrediblekeepsakes.com. And don't forget to mention that Redline Radio sent you. Lee Money here from the Steel City Renegades. And maybe you're looking for a Najee Harris futures card, or maybe his NFL rookie card, or any other hard to find sports trading cards, or maybe just another piece of sports memorabilia. You're going to look no further than One of One Sports Cards and Memorabilia. They are located at 13221 Prospect Road in Strongsville, Ohio. Call them today at 440-638-4044, and they have all your sports cards and memorabilia needs. Again, that number is 440-638-4044. Lee Money here for Redline Radio and Young's Jewelry. Young's Jewelry has been creating quality jewelry since 1975. When I was looking for my wife's engagement ring and even her wedding ring, Young's Jewelry is where I went. Call them today at 440-455-1026 and tell them that Redline Radio sent you.
All right, and we are back. And this portion of our show is brought to you in part by Bad Juju. They are the official band of Redline Radio. Call Dan today to book Bad Juju at 440-225-0511. Get some Bad Juju in your life. All right, NBA talk. And Ronnie Lee, this is probably y'all's favorite topic, but we're going to talk about LeBron for a second.
Hey.
Because, damn.
It's like that? Oh, man.
Oh, shit. Buzzer and denied. All right. Well, LeBron, at the All-Star game, LeBron said the door's not closed on coming back to the Cavs.
Oh, yes, it is.
We'll get to that in a second. But at the same time, a report just came out today that he would like to stay with the Lakers as long as possible, but he still is determined to play with Bronny before he retires. So my question to both of you gentlemen is, what is really going on? Is there smoke, or is this something that the Lakers are going to have to deal with for the next 2-3 years?
All right, here's my take on it, and then I'll let Ronnie do it. And I hate the man.
Why?
Okay, like, you were here originally, you got us to the finals, and then because we lost the finals and you're a little whiny bitch, you decide to go run off to Miami. You come back, you win us a championship, but then you realize that all of your other teammates are whiny little bitches, and you go ahead and you leave and you go to LA so you can make Space Jam This Movie Sucked and go live in LA.
It was for kids, dude.
The movie sucked.
It was for kids. It wasn't like it was when we were kids, man. It was for kids. It was for kids. It's a new generation. This new generation of kids ain't like we was.
Movie still sucked.
Okay.
But anyway, So then you find out that the Cavs actually have a chance to make it into the playoffs yet again, and you're not there. So, of course, he's sitting there going, damn, they're going to win a championship without me? No, I can't have that. I'm going to put the feeler out there that says that I'd like to come back to Cleveland so I can steal all the glory away from this young team who's actually doing shit without the quote-unquote GOAT who ain't the GOAT and just needs to go ahead and run the fuck away.
Oh, wow. Come on, man. Bring it in.
That's all I'm going to say, but I'm going to do this.
Come on, man. Bring it in. It's too much hostility over there, man. Just bring it
in. Oh, man. That's hard.
Like, for real. You never heard that.
Well, so here's my take on it, right? So, well, it's funny, man, because I felt like, you know, he definitely putting some feelers out there. It is true that he does want to play with his son. That is not something that.
Then do it on the West where they can fall into the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to promote him drowning. But I do agree with, you know, him playing over there. They already have that established. And then you figure he's trying to do some stuff after, you know, he retires anyway. It makes more sense. I agree with that part. As far as the whole Cleveland thing, you know, they did come out today and say that there is no bad blood between him, Clutch Sports, and, you know, organization and all of that. So with that, it's like, okay, to Lee's point, yeah, he's just throwing something out there to kind of get a feel or whatever, to kind of create some buzz, whatever. But then somebody probably had a conversation in the background going, look, this don't look good. You know, you need to come out and kind of clarify what you mean or whatever else. And it's funny because he's one of the players that always says, you know, if they ask me the question, I'm going to speak my opinion. But at the same time, you got to be respectful of the fact that, you know, you are that face. So if you come out and say something that kind of goes left, or you got people buzzing and thinking that certain things can happen, that can kind of mess things up in terms of what your franchise is trying to do at the time. And I get it. Right now they're in ninth place. They're not doing so hot. They may have to actually do a play-in tournament to get in the playoffs in general. But at the same time, man, it's like we've seen LeBron pull antics to where, you know, he's not happy. He's going to try to do different things to get stuff going. And part of it, too, is like we all see that, like, you know, AD's been struggling with injuries this year and things just haven't panned out for them, right? And, of course, the addition of Russell Westbrook, the synergy just hasn't really been there like we thought it was going to be. So I get it, man. They had a lot of issues. They fell apart. And who's to say they're going to actually bounce back next year? Who knows? Whatever. I'm not a Lakers fan, so I'm not really into it like that. But I just feel like, you know, overall, he can't say things that are out of pocket or going to generate the wrong buzz or whatever just because of who he is and his stature. You know, he has to be more careful with that. But I don't really see him coming back. I feel like the Cavs are good right now without him. I feel like they would win one with him. But to his point, yeah, I don't think that it's his place to steal that glory. And then what's going to happen is if he comes back or he were to come back, that would just break everything up. And the synergy wouldn't even be the same. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not a situation where it's like you brought LeBron in to help. You brought LeBron in to help Kyrie. That's a whole nother discussion.
And how that's.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. Like, you know.
It's a joint effort thing. Kyrie was
joint effort.
LeBron was.
Man, well, see, okay, but here's the thing. You got LB Crybaby blaming Kyrie for that. And you got Kyrie, the earth is flat, blaming LeBron for that.
Well, they need to have a one-on-one.
That'll never happen.
No, I mean, like,
yeah.
I don't mean
it was a bad marriage.
No, what I'm saying is, in order for them to fix that, it needs to be a game of one-on-one. Winner takes loser takes the blame. That's how I feel about it.
So Kyrie will take the blame then. He don't have the physicality to even, man. Like that's like me playing my kids in basketball right now. Like
you like 9 feet tall compared to your kids.
Exactly it, right? Exactly it. Because that. It's just not. I get it. If you're like, okay, let's play horse, Kyrie gonna win. If you're like, let's play one-on-one in front of me, like squaring up, he getting dunked on left and right. Like,
didn't some little kid beat LeBron in a free throw contest at Cedar Point?
I mean, that's a free throw contest. That's not even a real fair.
That's what I mean. Shooting wise, yeah. It's like
Jack at a free throw contest.
You sure about that?
I'm positive. Hey, I ain't never played organized basketball a day in my life, but I'm pretty sure I could beat Shaq in a free throw contest.
I mean, Shaq today, yeah, but Shaq in his prime, I don't know.
Shaq was maybe 40% from the line at one point.
58% career shooter.
58.
Okay. So that means out of 6 times, he's guaranteed to miss at least 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4.
All he's got to do is make one more than you. That's it.
Yeah.
One more.
He's saying you can't shoot, Mel. You can't shoot.
I'm not saying that.
That's fine. That's
I'm
fine.
not-
You know?
That's fine because I don't want the word to get out to this. And Shaq show up at my house talking about, I want to try.
You'd be Shaq in the football.
Right. He felt like, I'm here to see Mel.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to, sell the beef real quick.
All right.
Free Papa John's to the winner.
Yeah. I Papa John's don't even deliver to my hood, man.
We need to make
I'm getting there. Okay.
If they take your order, bro.
Yeah, that too. Okay. Here's my thing. Did anybody remember what happened in the baseball 1989-90 season?
Yeah, that was.
I was like 5.
Oh. Go ahead, Dave.
What World Series was that? Was that the earthquake series with the Dodgers?
That was 89, yeah.
That was the Giants and the A's, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there was a event that happened and it ended up being significant. And the event I'm talking about was Ken Griffey Jr. got drafted to the Mariners. Who was on the team?
His dad.
Exactly. And that was what his dad wanted. His dad wanted to play one season with him, and then he gave the reins to the Mariners to Junior. And the Mariners were talk of the town. They were the shit. They ran the kingdom because let's face it, Seahawks were stinky. It was doo-doo bird. All right. My point is, I do think Bron wants to play with Bronny. Now, Ronnie, me and you have talked about this, and the theory I came up with was that on his farewell tour, he comes back to Cleveland, he plays with Bronny, and then he leaves, no problems. That's my theory. It could happen, it couldn't happen. But I think that would be good as far as publicity goes for the team because we ain't had the All-Star game since 97. And look what happened. Everybody showed up. Everybody showed out. I don't agree with the top 75 list, but
oh my God, that list.
Another topic.
Oh
But what happened was a lot of notoriety came back to the city, rightfully needed. I'm not saying that this team needs LeBron. I'm not saying that this team needs Bronny. I'm saying if I'm a player, all right, just hear me out on this. If I'm a player and I'm old enough to where my son can play with me, and I've actually had this happen. I got a teammate who actually played with 2 out of 3 of his sons before he retired. So if I have that chance, like Griffey had with Junior, I'm going to take it. Now, if it's with the Lakers or if it's with the Cavs, I don't care. I'm just going to take that opportunity because that's one that you don't get, and you don't get it often. We ain't seen a father and son tag team like that, again, since Griffey and Junior. So, in theory, I do think it's possible. Is it needed to come back here? No, absolutely not.
It's possible that they play together, but if I'm the Cavs organization, I stay far away from both of them.
And that might be something that Gilbert thinks about too, but
I mean, it's like getting married to the same woman 3 times.
I've seen dumb people do it.
That dumb. They're on the right path. They know better now. They know better.
But keep in mind as well, LeBron did say he want to own a team.
You think Dan Gilbert's going to be dumb enough to sell the team to LeBron?
He sold 1% to Usher. I don't care. If you sell 1%, I'm pretty sure you'll sell at least 10% to LeBron.
That's not happening.
No. I think that relationship between LeBron and Dan Gilbert has gone completely down the tube.
And part of that is not all. It's not all LeBron's fault.
I'm not saying it is.
It's not all LeBron's. It's part Gilbert's. It's part Kyrie's. It's parts of LeBron's. I mean, everybody.
It's 3 parts to it. Yeah, you're right.
Everybody talks about how Kyrie is the one that started this whole thing with LeBron. If we go back, it wasn't Kyrie who started it. It was Kyrie's dad. Kyrie's dad is the one that put the notification out there that the Cavs were trying to trade Kyrie to the Suns for Eric Bledsoe. Remember that?
I did forget about that. Oh shit!
So the one that put that out there. Earl Irving is the one that put that out there. So that's not on LeBron. That's not on Kyrie. That's his dad, because his dad wanted him to come play at home in New York, and that's where he got him. He's the one that got wind of the Cavs trying to trade Kyrie to the Suns for Eric Bledsoe. I remember them going to LeBron at the Summer League game, and he's sitting there at ESPN. They walk up to him. They just traded Kyrie. He goes, "What? Are you shitting me? For who? If you trade him, don't trade him in the division. Then you go trade him for sorry-ass Isaiah Thomas."
Man, that was the worst thing. Oh, my God. Man.
The only thing out of that trade was the draft pick. That's it.
That's true.
The only good thing. But you cannot allow LeBron or Bronny come back to this. The Cavs, to me, are two to three players away from a championship.
And in the East, you wouldn't be wrong. Because they're only, as of right now, speaking of Cavs, we're going to roll right into that. Because they're only they're in fourth place right now. Yeah, fourth place. No, fifth. Behind Milwaukee, the Sixers, the Bulls, and the Heat. So, you're not wrong as far as however many players are needed, whatever changes are made, Dave. You're not wrong on that. I was just saying, in theory, if I'm a player and I have a chance.
Oh, I'd love to play with my son or my best
friend. I would like to do it at home. The reason I'm saying this in theory is because when I finally go out, I would want to do it at home, where I started. It's not about the money at that point. He already said that. He's got more than fucking enough money. But it's not about the money. It's not about, it's going to be about a championship. No matter what he says it's not, I believe it would be. But my thing is, if this does become a reality and the Cavs are involved, he's probably going to catch a lot of hell if he breaks the team up. And that's what I don't want to happen. Because this team this team right now is good enough because they're good enough, as we've seen. They've won big games. They've lost some big games, but they've been competitive in every game.
Every single one.
This team reminds me of the 86, 87, 88 Cavs when you had Price, Elo, Nance, Doherty, Hot Rod, a good bench. That's what this team reminds me of. You have that all around. You have three bigs, and who would have thought Bickerstaff started to 3 7-footers that it would work? It's actually worked.
Well, you got 3-point shooters now. It's no longer a league of driving the lane. It's a league of 3-point shooters. So, yeah, when you see Kyrie trying to drive the lane, you see Trevor Ariza or whoever trying to drive the lane on the Cavs, and you can't because you got 3 people who are over 7 foot trying to knock you the fuck out. You got to kick it out. And it's not always guaranteed to go to Steph Curry in this scenario.
Yeah, but everybody and their mother can shoot nowadays, so it doesn't matter. You got to defend. You got to play inside and defend the basketball. That's where I think that.
But the good thing about this, all 3 of those 7-footers can move.
They can,
and that's the scary part about it. Like,
who's that remind you of? Hot Rod Williams, Brad Doherty, and Larry Nance,
and Horace Grant.
Horace Grant, you're right.
Horace Grant, because Horace Grant could move. Horace Grant was deceptively fast.
But if you look around the NBA in the last 40 years, name 3 other big men on the front line that can move like Marketing, Mobley, and Allen. You have to go back to Nance, Doherty, and Hot Rod.
I would even say David Robinson to a degree.
3 big men. 3
big
men.
Yeah, 3 on the same team. Yeah, that's
no, I don't have it. Because
don't have it either.
2 superstars on every team. It wasn't like it is. There's no super team back then. I mean, outside of the Showtime Lakers, but there was only one 7-footer, and that was Kareem.
But you know that the Lakers drafted all them guys.
Yeah, the Cavs drafted all these guys,
and they're gonna win. They're gonna win another championship within the next 4 to 5 years.
I see that.
Yeah, I see that too. Agreed.
So, all right, since we're on the playoff talk and the Cavs talk, the Cavs, they lose to Detroit coming out of the All-Star break, which is expected because a lot of teams have that All-Star slump. We're battling through injuries. They were in 4th place before losing to Detroit, but they're only 3.5 back out of 1st place. It shows you how competitive the East is. So I got a question for everybody here. Do the Cavs make a jump for home court, or is it cool to just stay where they at?
If I was them, you're in the playoffs right now. You just stay where you're at. Don't go any further than 6th. So you don't have to have me in the tournament.
Lee, what about you?
I agree with you.
I'm not really a basketball fan, but I mean, at this point, I do think that the Cavs are at that point where they're going to have to do the play-in.
You think they'll fall to 7 or 8? That's real far. I think they're better than the 7 and 8 teams. You can't fall any further than 6.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't allow these injuries to overtake what you've already built. I mean, what is it? March 1st before there's buyouts. Nobody's really got bought out, and the Cavs just signed Tim Frazier to a 10-day contract because of Rondo being out. So now they got another backup point guard, and who would have thought Goodwin would have played as good as he gets since they got him out?
Yeah. Ronnie, what about you?
I feel like the same thing. You know, they fall to 5, 6, something like that. They coast that and go in. Because of the injuries, you know, they won't get home court, unfortunately, but, you know, they definitely can play in the middle for sure. You figure Rondo's out for a couple of weeks. I know Garland's had some injuries he's been battling or whatever. And then, of course, them just getting LeVert and him being out, you know, because right now, the most reliable scorers that you have is Garland and LeVert, you know, quiet as kept. And then, of course, when Garland's in the game, Allen goes off every single time. That's the synergy they have. You know what I mean? So getting them guys back, man, you know they're gonna make a run. But yeah, I don't see them getting the home court because of those injuries, man. But yeah, 5 or 6, I see them at.
I got to be the only optimistic motherfucker on this show. Okay. I think they do. I think they make a play for home court advantage. Here's why. The magic number is 3. They're 3.5 games out of first place. They're 3.5 games out of first place in the division. That ain't hard to come back from with what? 30 games left, 40 games, 25, 30 games left. And on top of that, all you really got to do is keep pace in the division, which you have been doing. At one point you were in second place. You lose this game. This is how tight that race is in the Eastern Conference. Think about that. You're only 3 games out of first in both the division and the conference. You've already beaten Chicago. You've already beaten Milwaukee. You've beaten the Sixers. These are all teams you're going to see again.
But you just named something. The Sixers just improved their roster dramatically.
With James Harden, yeah.
And who'd they just blow out by like 36? With Harden.
Yeah, I mean, but here's, again, if you can stay paid, that's in the Eastern Division. It's in the Atlantic. If you can keep pace in the division, you got a good chance. And if you win home court at some point, or if you are lucky enough to get home court, they got to come to you. And you've been very, very, very good at home. So all of this stuff isn't out of the realm of possibility. I just think once we bounce back from the injuries, once we, get the lineup situated again, Rondo's going to come back. I mean, it's his big toe. I mean, athletes all got ugly feet anyway, so I don't think it really matter. Garland's coming back. He's not going to sit down for that long. We got LeVert. LeVert's going to be back. We got scorers. We have defense. Nobody's really blown us out. It's not been a real 40-point loss. It's been a 3-point, 6-point, 10-point loss. And in basketball, if you lose to any really good team by 10 points, you've done something good. And people notice that.
I mean, I agree with you on that, and I agree with you on the defense. But how can this team, being so young, this will make them or break them now with these injuries? We'll see how they're coached now with the injuries that they lost, because they're key injuries that they have. They have Marketing, who just came back. He was out for 2 weeks, missed 11 games. You got Rondo, who's out for 2 weeks. You got Karis LeVert, who you just got. He's out for 2 weeks. So that's 20, 30, 28 points out of your lineup between them two. Marketing brings you about 14, so now you're missing about 14. You got to have Love and Chetty average 17 apiece off the bench. And here's my possible. And here's my thing. You cannot mess up this bench core. You have to start LeVert, because now if you put LeVert in there, that takes Chetty's shots away. That takes Love shots away. That was working great before LeVert got there. You put LeVert in, you see Love kind of, for them 2-3 games, he was kind of lost. You can't have him do that. Bring a core, move a Coral there, or Coral brings the energy and the defense. Now you got your 2 shooters. Go get yourself another big. You could sign another big who can get you like 6 or 7 points off the bench and a couple rebounds, play physical. I don't know why they didn't go after Thompson. I would have took Tristan Thompson. He could have
I
gave you
don't
6
know,
and
man.
6.
He dating. He still he
He's
got
with Chicago.
he got Kardashian cooties. I don't want him back.
Yeah, but I would have still took him, dude. He would have brought you energy. Plus,
Yeah, he would have. But you know, let's face it. At this point in the game, Tristan's more defense than he is a scorer, and we still need points. And against Miami, against Chicago, against the Sixers, you're going to need points. You can't just keep them out of the paint. You can't keep James Harden from not shooting a three.
You know what else you need in there?
A prayer book?
Second chance points, and that's what Tristan does.
Yeah, that's
he
true.
He gives you that 50-50 ball.
Yeah, his offensive board is nasty. You need that.
They are. I give him that. We ain't seen it since he was here with LeBron. So,
I mean, he sure lit us up when he was with Indiana. He had the last game with Indiana. He had 17, 8, and 9 in 10 minutes of action.
Man, that was a one-off chance.
He just had like 10 points, 9 rebounds with Chicago last night.
I mean, Chicago
off the bench.
Chicago's also needing a big too.
And we don't need a big off the bench. What happens if Allen goes down?
If Allen go down,
Ed Davis.
Man, if Allen go down, that's it.
Come on, man.
If Allen goes down, I'm not gonna watch. Well, it's not like we really watching the Cavs anyway. They ain't on TV.
Yeah, they are. Valley Sports Network.
Not every cable company
has
Valley Sports.
That's my point. You got cable, dude.
I got Fire Stick.
Let's see. Well, I'm not gonna get into the illegal cable right now.
I was like, I'm not gonna say nothing about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, not on the air. Not on the air anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I mean, I personally believe the Cavs can jump back into home court because they're only missing 3 games, and you can make those 3 games back up. So, in the event that does happen, I'm really looking for the Cavs to jump at least back in the third, and that is possible. Because remember, the top 4 get a home playoff series, if I'm not mistaken. So it's possible, and I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, last topic of the day: NFL. And as we've all seen after the Super Bowl, the NFL, Brian Flores gets a job with the Steelers as an assistant defensive coach. And he said he's still going to continue with his lawsuit. And his attorneys have even said they have more than enough evidence to continue forward with the lawsuit. So, first question I have is, what do you think that this is going to do for the Dolphins and for the league itself? That Brian Flores and his team of attorneys have that kind of evidence that could be not only concrete but detrimental.
You know, with something like this, I feel like if this were, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it would have a huge, negative hit on the league to the point where, they're going to look at it from the same angle that they did, the way they did Cap, But I feel like right now, with them trying to do the whole, equality thing and all these messages and players wearing stuff on the back of their helmets and whatever else, try to promote all these messages about racial equality and whatever else they're trying to do. I feel like this is something that needs to happen right now and something that is going to just continue to move forward with and expose some of the things that we may not know about that's not out there in the media and some of the things that, Black coaches may be going through that we're not going to hear about, obviously, until this came up. So I feel like it's just in its right time for it to be happening, and that it's just something that, has to take its course and we see how it plays out. But like I said, if this was like 4 or 5 years ago, it'd be so much smoke behind it, man. Flores wouldn't even have got a job this quick. You know what I'm saying? I just think it's time for us to just see how it plays out and, what the NFL is going to do going forward. Because you figure with them having that, and them also talking about an extension for Goodell and whatever else, we got to see how this goes, man. I don't think it's going to impact it as bad as it would have been in the past, though. So that's my take on it.
You know what? I honestly believe that that Roger Goodell needs to be scared He needs to be worried.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why. Here's why. You basically was blackballed from trying to get a head coaching job. On top of the job that you already had, which you did a damn good job of doing. You turned the team around, whether people want to admit it or not. You turned the team around. And because you turned the team around, other teams rather, seen that. Now, it took one text from Belichick to get all of that fucked up. And on top of one text message, you've got evidence that shows that the team you were coaching told you to tank the season in order to get draft picks and, stockpile so you can build a team. But what you were doing with the team was already successful. Y'all were competitive in the division. You were a few games out of the playoffs. Like, let's call it what it is, because the AFC is very tough, especially around playoff time. And you did all of that with less than what you would have gotten had you tanked. Because when you tank, you're hoping for the highest draft pick. And because you're hoping for the highest draft pick, that player isn't guaranteed, depending on what the need is and what, the best player is available. That player ain't guaranteed the next season. He's not guaranteed to, he's not guaranteed to be a Russell Wilson. He's not to be, a Warwick Dunn or even Richard Sherman or anybody of that nature. So if this lawsuit plays out and it looks, and just to throw my point out there, this shows you how confident Flores is, Lee. He took the Steelers job knowing he was right.
Yep.
And I'm not saying he's all the way right. I'm not saying he's all the way wrong. But if somebody puts you in a position to do something you don't want to do at your job, and you're right, and they fire you, and then on top of that, you get a job by another team or another company, and you still go along with the lawsuit that you had against said company, somebody lying, and I guarantee you it may not be Flores.
Well, and this is something that Dave brought up the other night on Broad Street South, our other broadcasting partner. They could be setting it up so that Brian Flores replaces Mike Tomlin as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And that's true. I could see that happening. Because Tomlin still has a little bit left in the tank. Granted, we probably as Steeler fans, we're probably going to take a hit, with Ben leaving. We have no quarterback now. But at the same time, this was a smart move. I don't think this is necessarily a smart move by the Steelers. I think this was more of a smart move by Flores.
Mm-hmm.
If he stays and he stands his ground, he's got a job. And they don't do him like Kaepernick. And on top of that, if he wins this lawsuit, imagine the impact it's going to have when he finally wins the lawsuit. Imagine that impact. That's going to be scary. And I don't think Roger Goodell is going to want no parts of that.
This is like the biggest black eye that I think the NFL has ever had to deal with. And I definitely think that this is something that they're going to have to deal with sooner rather than later.
They should have been dealing with this sooner rather than later, without having to institute the Rooney Rule, which was the Rooney Rule is only 20 years old.
Something like that,
yeah. 2002. I looked it up. It's 2002 that Rooney Rule is in place. So it's only 20-year-old rule. How many black head coaches did we have before that you can remember? I can only remember one.
Romeo Crennel.
I take not since 2002 or before 2002.
Crennel was still coach of the Browns in 2002, wasn't he?
No, he didn't come till 2008, 2007 because they had So before 2002, the only black head coaches I can remember happen to be Tony Dungy and Art Shell of the Raiders and Bucks respectively. Rooney Rule kicks in.
How about Dennis Green?
Damn, I forgot about Denny. Rest in peace, Denny. They are who we thought they were. So that's 3 that I can remember. Now, you want to hire Flores, who is a very good coach, especially on the defensive side. And you don't even give him a fair shot.
You forgot one more. Ray Rhodes, Eagles.
Who fucking pays attention to the Eagles? Ray Rhodes, how long did Ray Rhodes last there?
5 years, 97 to 2003.
Ugh. And that's why it's no wonder room why he remembers him.
The reason why he lasted that long is because
you know what? You absolutely right. 1079 used to make fun of him every morning on the morning show. I remember that now. Okay, so that was 5. 5 out of what? At the time, it was 30, 32 teams. 29.
You're forgetting Hugh Jackson's here, baby.
He wasn't a head coach then.
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator with the Ravens.
It's the Ravens, yeah. My point is...
I thought he was with Cincinnati.
He was with Cincinnati.
He was.
After the Super Bowl when they fired, what's his name? Brian Dillon.
Yeah.
Brian Dillon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, my point is, this rule shouldn't even be a rule, but it is. And the fact that it has to be a rule for black and brown coaches to get a shot when the league is 70% black and brown should show you Roger Goodell is not doing the job he's doing. You want equality? This rule either needs to be retooled or gotten rid of, and you need to come up with something better. Because this rule, and don't get me wrong, I definitely applaud and commend the Rooneys for instituting this rule because they have done a lot for the NFL, not just the players, but for the league in general. But if Roger Goodell is not going to enforce this rule, it nullifies it. And Lee, you might disagree. Ronnie, you might disagree. But if you're going to put this rule in place, and I really feel like this, if you're going to put this rule in place, you need to enforce it with the same type of enforcement and the same type of ferocity that you attack players who do dumb shit.
No, I don't disagree at all.
So if you're gonna knock Josh Gordon for smoking weed all these times before you just not look for weed in a drug test, then you need to enforce and put some heat on these teams to start interviewing and hiring more black head coaches. Why isn't Bieniemy got a job? Why doesn't he have a job? But how long does he have to wait before Reed retires?
Maybe they told him, hey, he's got 2 more years left. You're there. Don't show nowhere. Just get your interviews, diligence. Or he could be like Josh McDaniels because Josh McDaniels came out and said that the Patriots told him he was going to be the heir apparent of Belichick.
And he wasn't.
And because he waited too long.
He missed out on good jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I agree 100% with what our co-host on Steel City Renegade says right here, Chipper. Chipper, thanks for checking out 4th and 15 today. You got to get rid of the old school owners. They have owned teams for decades. I think that they 100% part of the negativity that is going around and part of this whole situation. They don't give a shit about wins and losses anymore. They give a shit about what the bottom dollar on their bank account looks like. Right. And if they're going to be able to tank, get that number 1 draft pick, and it's some stud player out of college, they're going to sell T-shirts, they're going to sell jerseys, they're going to sell tickets, they're going to sell concessions, they're going to make money hand over fist. At least something with and this whole thing with Brian Flores getting hired by the Steelers, it all happened because he called Mike Tomlin asking for advice on what to do with the lawsuit. And Tomlin is just like, you know what? I'll take it one step further. We need an offense or defensive coordinator. How about I just give you a job?
And he took it.
Why wouldn't you?
Why would? Yeah,
exactly.
Especially if you know you're right about what you just went through.
Exactly. And that's why I said this is going to be one of the biggest black eyes the league is ever going to have to deal with. And Chipper then followed that up with, you can't change the hiring process without getting rid of the old school mentality.
And that's where we come
Get
in
on.
with our next part, because the draft is coming up.
I got one more thing on that.
Go ahead.
I'm a firm believer, no matter if it's a job interview, a coaching position, general manager position, the best candidate, no matter skin color, should get the job.
Yeah,
Plain
yeah.
and simple. Not because you have a buddy that's the general manager like Josh McDaniels did.
Right.
I mean,
Oh man.
my guy, but you need to do your due diligence, especially with the African American coaches. If they're better than what is there, then they need that opportunity. I agree 100% with you, dude. Like, Brian Flores will be another head coach somewhere, and he probably will be. He will take Tomlin's job. You watch.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. But
I mean, Tomlin's been with the Steelers, what, 18 years?
How old is Flores? 38, 39?
somewhere around there.
He's about Tomlin's age when he got that job. Now, Tomlin, now they're probably saying, well, now we got a predecessor for Tomlin. Tomlin's probably now his little warm.
Let's groom him.
And it should be.
Groom him. He doesn't have a playoff record over the last 15
Very
games.
true. Very true.
Now Flores bring your defense in. You call the defense because now he trusts him to call his defense now because Tomlin was calling all the defensive plays. So now it's got to go from Tomlin. Flores oversees it. Now it goes to the defensive coordinator who's going to be calling the plays to Flores. That's how that's going to work.
Yep.
But don't forget about this, though, too. The Steelers are still looking for a general manager yet, too.
Yeah.
That should be Louis Riddick.
It'll be Riddick. I was going to say the same thing. I believe it'll be Riddick. Now,
it'll have to be Louis Riddick now, especially with them two.
Yep. So Chipper says Mara, Floor, Jones, Davis, etc. These are all coaches that do deserve to be head coaches. And, the mentality in the NFL has always been, quote unquote, best for the job. But I do think, and especially like with the team that plays in the Factory of Sadness right up the road here, I think that they have dropped the ball on this coaching thing for the last 20 years since they've been back in 99. And I'm not saying that I don't think that Kevin Stefanski may not be a decent coach for that team, but you come out
him, it was a shitstorm.
Well, not only that, but I mean,
outside of Romeo Crennel.
Well, Crennel just had shitty players.
Here's the thing with that. He had shitty players and still got a 10-7 record.
Brian
Flores, I'm looking at it right now. Brian Flores had shitty players.
Yep.
And went 9-8. So he was one game above 500, had a winning season, and you fired him.
Because he didn't do what the owner told him to do. That is the only reason that Flores got fired. And I said this right after this whole thing happened on our Super Bowl special, because that's right around the time that this whole lawsuit thing came up. And I said this. I'm like, I guarantee you, the owner of the team would not take responsibility for the tank. So even if Flores had tanked,
he was the scapegoat.
and had all those hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it was $100,000 per game to tank, right?
He's the one that stepped up to the plate for Tua and went to bat for Tua.
Yeah. Exactly.
He wanted Tua to be harder. The owner did not want that to happen.
Because they know here, and I hate it. I hate that this is going racial. Not because not because of us, but because our listeners, our viewers have a different take. I hate that it's going racial, but this is the reality.
It is 100%.
Exactly.
How many times? And you know what? We can stay on this topic for as long as we want. I don't even care.
And Chipper just chimed in with two that Flores went 7-1 in the last eight games of the season.
Yes.
Yep.
You finished 7-1. You had a hell of a season in the toughest division outside of the AFC North.
Yep.
Yeah, because you figure they got to compete with both, New England and the Bills, and then trying to get ahead of them.
Division.
Right.
And look at that ass that they put on the Ravens.
Right.
Man.
Jackson. And nobody else took the blueprint.
We know how to stop him now.
I mean, we do, but still.
No. I'm saying we know how to stop him now. We got Flores.
Yeah.
We got Flores. We know how to stop him.
That's my point. That's exactly my point. He came up with the blueprint to stop him.
Yep.
And nobody else in the league that seen Lamar Jackson last season took.
And that game was an ass whipping.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Nobody took notice. You know why nobody took notice?
Because it was the Miami Dolphins.
Like 43.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm really gonna stick with that because it's the Dolphins and because nobody thinks black coach can pull it, or black or brown coach can pull it off.
That isn't named Mike Tomlin.
But here's the thing. This is why I hate getting racial. I didn't want to get off of it. Here's why I hate getting racial. I hate that it got racial because nobody wants to accept that it's the reality. Think about it. But when the Super Bowl, the modern era, 1969, 1970 merger, how many black quarterbacks did you see before the Redskins won the Super Bowl?
None.
One.
Who?
Come on, you're a Steelers fan. Come on, dude.
Terry Bradshaw?
No.
Black before.
Yes. Bradshaw lost his starting quarterback job to a black quarterback. Name him Joe Gilliam, number 17.
Oh, I forgot about Gilliam. Okay, but did he win the Super Bowl?
He was his backup. Bradshaw
He was a backup.
lost his starting
Okay,
job
he was
to
a
him,
backup.
Played the first 6 games. Got him there. Bradshaw came in, led him to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so we'll give Joe Gilliam half credit, just for the sake of this discussion. Give him half credit.
Does he still get a ring?
Yeah, he still get a ring.
All right.
But my point is, how many black quarterbacks won a Super Bowl before Doug Williams? None. How many black as a starter? Thank you for putting that in. As a starter, how many black quarterbacks won a Super Bowl before Doug Williams?
Nope.
0.
No.
How many black quarterbacks were probably good enough to get a team to a Super Bowl?
I mean, can you think of any though back then? Because the quarterback position since 90,
It's changed dramatically.
since when did Aaron McNair come in?
95, 96.
That's when it started changing.
And that's my point. So when you get to the 90s, you see McNabb, you see McNair, Randall Cunningham.
Michael Vick.
How many of them got a real fair shot, not listening to the coaches or the draft expert saying he's a running quarterback? Do you know Michael Vick's completion percentage in college? It was 77%.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you get 77% if you're a fucking running quarterback? He ran because his life was on the line.
Absolutely.
He played
that line was trash.
Yeah, Ronnie, he played at Virginia Tech, playing against the best Miami Hurricanes team of the decade around that time. Period. How do you not remember your life when you got Jonathan Vilma, you got Sean Taylor,
Man.
Reed? How do you not run? That's my point. And he managed to get 77% completion percentage.
Imagine
what is unheard of.
And he
Any quarterback.
And he almost single-handedly won a national championship.
Yep.
Which is unheard of for any quarterback.
For a first half.
Vince Young.
Vince Young won a national championship.
The greatest college football game of all time.
I got to disagree with that one. I'm still O-State Miami on that one.
All right, so let me ask you this real quick. If Mike Vick had not gone to prison for the dogfighting thing,
oh my God,
how do you think his career would have gone?
He would have gone down as one of the greatest.
He won Super Bowl.
He won the Super Bowl. He
won Super Bowl.
Because he stayed in Philly. He'd have stayed in Philly. They'd have drafted Wentz. Wentz would have got hurt. Michael Vick would have still had all the weapons that Carson Wentz had. This is my belief. Because I don't think
wasn't in the league then.
When he got drafted with Philly. You sure?
This is Wentz's 5th year in the league. Vick's been out since about 2012.
After that year, he started for the Steelers.
Yeah, he's been out.
When was that?
2016.
Okay, so we'll scratch the Steelers one. I honestly do think he would have won a Super Bowl or have been to one. McNabb got the one. Unfortunately, it was against the Patriots, but he got the one, and he was good enough. Mind you, he took the starting quarterback's job. You know who the starting quarterback was for Syracuse? It was Kevin Johnson, the receiver for the Browns. So if you're good enough to take somebody's job, if you're good enough to start quarterback,
it was the 2015 season. He signed a 1-year backup deal worth $970,000 on August 25th, 2015.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing I wanted to say. Like, it doesn't have to be like this, but you give these players credit at certain positions: running back, wide receiver, cornerback, safety, linebacker, but you don't give them credit at quarterback. You just said it, Vince Young. He literally was helping the Titans get somewhere. Granted, the team wasn't perfect. He still was missing a line, like most of these quarterbacks. He was still missing a running back.
You know who else was a bad boy, but Spurrier fucked him up? RG3.
Yeah, here we go.
Spurrier
There we
fucked
go.
him up, man.
And that
Yeah,
and
man.
these are all the what ifs and why nots that I have for questions that I have. What if you would have gave Mike Vick in Atlanta the reins over the offense? What plays
Oh my
work for you? You know, you still had work done for it a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. So what if you say, hey, Mike, what plays work for you? What plays do you really like in this situation? What if you went to Donovan McNabb and said, hey, what receivers do you feel will help this team instead of grabbing just T.O. and turning the season into a clusterfuck?
But they had him and Deshaun Jackson. That was a good pairing.
It was a good pairing. But what does it do for the locker room when you got one guy who loves you and another guy who hates you because you're throwing it to the other guy that's open?
You'll have that with him.
You will, but not on that level. Donovan McNabb has come out saying he at one point wanted to choke T.O. on the sideline. I ain't never had that happen to me, and I played receiver. I just went up to the quarterback. Hey, look, man, on this play, this is what we should do. RG3, what if Steve Spurrier never fucks him up?
Man.
What do the Redskins look like? And I did say Redskins, not the Commanders. What do the Redskins look like?
So let me ask you this. I'm being 100% honest with this, okay?
Okay.
We have the USFL starting in April. We have the XFL coming back next year.
Right.
All these African-American and other race coaches that are getting looked over and passed up on by the league.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them do you think are going to jump ship and possibly go to the USFL or go to the XFL, especially knowing that the new owner of the XFL is an African-American Samoan male?
I think about 40%.
He's already got one in the USFL, Kirby Smart. He's the head coach of the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Right.
Yeah.
But, okay, so on top of that, how many players in the NFL would get up and follow those coaches?
I'd say about 70.
I don't think it's that much.
70 is a bit high.
I would say about 20%.
I'd say 30. Because a lot of those players trust those coaches.
Exactly, and that was the point I was about to make.
Eric Bieniemy, just for the sake of this discussion, if Eric Bieniemy jumps ship right now and goes to the USFL, half that roster might go with him outside of Patrick Mahomes. Half that roster might follow him. If Ronnie was to get a head coaching job in the USFL, I guarantee you, some kid out there that trusts him would be going with him.
And I agree. You go where you're trusted and where your buddies go to be successful. Yep. If you just like LeBron, we're going to take it back to basketball for a minute. He surrounded himself with his buddies in Miami because he trusted them.
Right.
Just like Odell Beckham, he went to Los Angeles because he trusted them guys over there to take him to the promised land. They did that. With the USFL and the XFL, the NFL is dropping the ball with using them as minor leagues.
You can't, but you
yes, you can.
You could, but what I mean by that you can't is because this is an entirely different generation. Nobody who starts a league now wants to be a developmental team to the NFL.
Nope. They want to beat the NFL.
And that's not always going to happen, but what you're doing is something that
practice squad players are out there.
Practice squad
for each team that you can leave uncontracted or 14 that you can leave uncontracted through the week, and 2 you can't. So why can't the NFL go to USFL teams so they have 8 there and 8 in the XFL? Why can't they go there and say, hey, our practice squad players are available to you guys at any cost. You guys want to use them, we want them to develop and bring them up there.
You see, but that would be smart.
And that would be you're right. That would be the smart thing.
Yeah, makes too much sense.
Logical thing. But in the NFL's mind,
they're losing money and they're losing players.
And it's going to all of these old school owners. We're losing money. Yep. We don't have these players. We're losing whatever hold we have as the monopoly over the league, over football. Because there's only 2 monopolies, the NFL and the NCAA. If you lose that monopoly and you give these players, which is what arena football did.
Yep.
You give these players another avenue who still want to play and they're still good. Think about it. I can give you one good example. Who was Peyton Manning's favorite receiver at Tennessee? Marcus Nash. He got a shot in the NFL. It didn't work out. Guess where he ended up being? He ended up in the AFL being one of the greatest wide receivers ever in that league. Because he
now he's unemployed.
Hey, but he had the avenue.
All right, so let's flip that. The XFL came out, the original XFL in 99 or whatever year that was.
That was a shit show.
I mean, half of those games were actually pretty entertaining.
They were, but the overall presentation was what made it a shit show.
Right, because it was too WWE.
Exactly.
So the Pittsburgh Steelers actually ended up getting a starting quarterback.
Tommy Maddox. And he ended up being a decent quarterback for them at the time.
Exactly.
A decent quarterback.
So, I mean, but to the point of money when it comes to these old school owners, and then, taking those 16 or 14 players, like Dave was saying, that they don't have to have under contract. But even though they're not under contract, they're members of the team and need to be paid.
Right. And they only get $35,000.
If you make them free agents to be used by the USFL or to be used by the XFL, you can put a clause in their contract that says if you go and play spring football with either the USFL or the XFL, you forfeit whatever money the Browns would give you because you're getting paid.
No, I don't agree with that.
I don't either.
I think
I don't either. If you're gonna make me sit, the game day roster is only 53. Actually, no, it's 46.
I'm just saying while they're playing,
but 46 can dress.
I'm saying only while they're playing.
And I'm telling you, it's still shit. It's still shit. Here's why it's still shit. The game day roster is 46.
Okay.
The actual game day roster overall is
53. Right.
So that means out of 53, 46 can only dress. So you're making me sit. Why the fuck should I lose out on that money? Especially when I know they want me to play. And I'm playing through the spring. I'm not playing through the NFL season in both leagues. So why should I have to lose out on that money too?
Okay, all right. So fair point. Fair point on that. All right. I didn't think about that because the leagues do take place at two different
spring leagues.
Yeah.
So why the fuck if I got to sit through the fall
and it's not like the NFL players are getting paid through the spring anyway.
Exactly.
So I get paid during the season.
Yeah, thank you, Roddy. So if you're telling me, hey, sign this, you can't play spring ball. Fuck you. I got to sit as it is. I can go to practice. I can be in the film sessions, but I can't be on the field. But they're telling me.
How many snaps a week do you think the practice squad players get?
None.
I take that back.
5%.
I take that back. I'll say 3 because if it's position specific, you may get that just because
it's position.
It's position. So if like Dearness Johnson, he's a running back. You got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in front of you. So 50% go to Chubb, 50% go to Hunt. They say it's 110% just for the sake of it. You get that last few percent only because, well, if Hunt's hurt that week, but he's still at practice, but you got to step in and be the back.
Well, not only that, but I mean, Hunt and Chubb don't play every play.
They don't, but
every down, I should say.
But they get swapped in, they get packaged in.
Right. So I mean, you have to have Dearness Johnson run plays because there's going to be that
he's going to have to know.
Right. But I mean, can we just get the Johnson that's on our team to remember how to catch a fucking football?
Hey, I said the motherfucker could run. I didn't say he had hands of gold. Like shit. But it's interesting because
put some pine tar on that dude's gloves.
This is what NFL Europe was supposed to be. Remember?
Well, this
oh my god.
Be back in the 80s too.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a minor league team.
It wasn't. It was supposed to be competing with the NFL.
They took some NFL players from college. They drafted
and gave them they were the first ones to hand out $1 million contracts, which is why free agency started to begin with.
You know who the first player was to defunk from the NFL to go to the US?
I believe it was Reggie White, wasn't it? Nope. Or Herschel.
He played for the team that plays in First Energy.
What the hell was that?
Ryan Sipe.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he came from the USFL.
He went from Cleveland to the New Jersey Generals for $1.1 million for 2 years.
I did not know that.
Yes.
All I knew was I knew the heavy part. And the heavy part was
free agents.
They offered $1 million contracts, which caused the NFL to say, okay, we got to do something to compete with that, which was free agency. Because remember, when you signed a contract up until the 85 season, which is what, USFL 84, 85?
85.
Last year.
Okay, so up until that year, or up until the USFL came about, you had to sign with that team, and you were stuck. You were stuck.
Mm-hmm. Pay the entire contract.
If USFL is done right, they can be a thorn in the NFL.
Exactly. So could the XFL. Not that money is really a big issue, but my thing is, one, The Rock's behind this. He knows football. He's played.
And not only that,
And he's got the cash.
He's got the
right.
cash.
But I was also going to say he's also got all the money from Vince's contract that Vince forfeited when he sold the league.
Exactly.
When he sold the league to Dwayne.
What else is good for the USFL? Not only are they broadcasting on Fox, they're also broadcasting on CBS, NBC, and ESPN.
And that's the beauty of it, because there's only three real channels.
Network money.
Yeah, because now there's only 3 channels that the NFL broadcasts on: Fox, CBS, and ESPN on Sunday nights.
NBC.
The Mouse owns both of those. So, yeah.
Well, no, the Mouse owns ABC and NBC, or
ESPN
or ABC
and
ESPN.
Yeah.
Well, ABC.
Yeah, ABC, ESPN under Disney.
Oh, Fox owns Fox.
Yeah, Fox owns Fox.
No, Disney owns Fox. That was part of the deal. They bought.
That happened.
Yeah, I missed that.
That happened like 3 years ago. They own Fox.
So Disney owns
damn.
and ESPN.
We'll look on that app.
Yeah,
we'll
look at that up.
But
We'll take that later, yeah.
my thing is this, and I think that the AAF had something going with this. And what they have going with this is that.
So Chipper's asking if the USFL and XFL players are going to be in the union.
I would think so.
You would have
I would hope so.
If you're going to join a sport, you want to be part of the union because the union is fighting for you. Look at baseball. That's all I got to say. Look at baseball. When in sport do you see one player get a $300 million contract? That's the average salary cap for the NFL.
Here's my question to you real quick, bro. Who's the first debunker from the NFL to go to USFL?
Josh Gordon.
Colin Kaepernick.
That's possible too. But I think Josh Gordon will, because I think the rules will be more lax.
Disney purchases Fox for $71.3 billion.
Fucking mouse.
When did that happen?
2019.
Fucking mouse, man.
Oh my goodness, are you serious?
Mouse.
Disney's
not own. That's the question.
$3 billion purchase of the film and TV assets held by 21st Century Fox, the company behind everything from Alien to The Simpsons, is now the biggest media merger ever.
Football's gonna make.
Well, you know what? That makes sense now, because I was asking my wife the other day. I'm like, why is The Simpsons streaming on Disney Plus? There it is.
Yeah. Yep. And now, so that means that that Disney now owns Hulu.
Oh
my God.
So the way it works.
No wonder the price jumped up.
So the
That's why they got all 3 in the package, though.
Disney bundle.
Yeah. We don't have the Disney bundle. We just got Hulu, but I see why the fucking price dropped.
So
yep, that's why they did it.
That is adult-oriented or branded under the original Fox title is going to stream on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is family friendly
is going to stream on
and is Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, National Geographic is on Disney Plus.
Okay. Well, we got one more discussion to this football topic, but to close it out, the thing that I thought that the AF was going with was that they weren't using the developmental thing. They were actually trying to be a league that made other players want to come there and say, hey, we got another avenue for you. You ain't going to make NFL money, but you'll still get to play. You'll be on TV. Now, had the shit not went south, I think the AF would still be up. The USFL and the XFL coming back, look at the product. The XFL's games were a whole lot more entertaining than they were back in 2001.
I don't.
Not only that, they had players you knew. Cardell Jones was out in Birmingham. Shout out to Cardell. He was out in Birmingham. He was lighting it up. Would have won a championship had COVID not took over.
United Football Players Association just signed a deal with the XFL, USFL, and all other non-NFL football leagues.
And that's the part that's going to be NFL, because now they have a union, and I'm pretty sure that union is going to be a lot stronger than the NFLPA. Now, I'm not saying the NFLPA union ain't strong, But look, like I said, look at baseball's union, the MLBPA. They will fight you to the death. They don't give a shit about this lockout. I guarantee it. But you're going to do right by them.
Yep.
You are going to do right by them. Especially, like we said earlier in the show, your minor league system. Your minor league system is just now getting housing. Y'all should have did this 30 years ago after the first lockout.
And you know, since those minor league games are so much more cheaper than the actual MLB games, I go to more rubber duck games than I do Indians games.
Yeah, but
same here. I would rather go to a bunch of Clipper games than I would,
But to your point, why they're on the road more too, so they need housing. They definitely need it.
Yep.
Baseball players get a break in between 3-game series. Minor league players are on. If y'all pay attention to the media, meaning y'all watch.
Oh, don't even go there, Chipper. Don't even go there. You just asked who are the Indians.
Oh, come on, man. Don't be like that. But if you watch any sports movie,
you fucking Braves fan.
Oh man, give him a punch. He's a fucking Braves fan. Give him a punch. Punch his ass right now.
He's our co-host on
I don't care. Give him one. Go say it. But he a Braves fan, man.
Steelers fan crosses him out.
Man.
He can get away with that being a Steelers fan.
Okay, I did want to talk about college football really, really quickly. As we all know, the college football playoff is going to expand, and it's going to expand probably around 2025 with the original contract for the 14 playoff is expired.
Mm-hmm.
You said they're the Guardians.
Man, they are fucking Indians. Don't make me, man. Dude, I don't even know you and I don't like you already. Anyway.
Chipper has that effect on people.
Anyway, if we saw it this year. The sleeper teams in college football have made it to the playoff now. Before, it was an issue of why don't we get a shot? We saw the bracket busters in the BCS.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, but we saw the BCS busters when the BCS was going around. So now Cincinnati's made it, and they were unfairly pitted against Alabama. But if you watch that game, it wasn't a real blowout. Alabama had to work to get that win. They had to work to score 27 points. All right? Don't get it twisted. The only thing that hurt Cincinnati was the fact that they couldn't move the ball like they wanted to during the run game. And the run game was the strong point of that offense. So when you forced Cincinnati to throw the ball, it was a shitstorm. Now, because Cincinnati made it, who or what do you think is going to happen with the playoff expansion as far as who gets in? Because I can already tell you, I know the Power 5 are going to have at least, depending on how they expand this, 6 to 8. I think Power 5 is going to have say over at least 2 spots. And then the rest are going to be up for grabs, unless it goes to 8.
See, this is a hard one because, we see Cincinnati getting ready to move into a Power 5 conference, right? So with something like that, it kind of makes me wonder.
I'm a fan of that move, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, even with that happening, what does that mean for the schools that are left out that aren't in those conferences? Like, who would be that representation that'll be able to even make that jump that Cincinnati was able to do, in the last couple of years? I kind of wonder about that too.
It's a couple.
Because I think you have to make it happen, though. You do. Like, it's a time now. Yeah, because like the thing is, like, it's a time now where the representation definitely, is going to be there. You got these teams that are hungry and trying to make that jump. Of course, they want the national spotlight, but then they also want to, bring in more revenue because we have to look at it from a business perspective too, as well. But my thing is, like, when it does happen, it's going to be something that people are going to say, this should have happened years ago. Or it's going to be one of those scenarios where they're like, okay, we finally get to see what this talent looks like when you put them up against a school that primarily wouldn't get the same shine during the season, and they get the opportunity later on, because like, obviously we see it on a grander scale right now, just with, something as big as like March Madness, where you get that one Cinderella school that you ain't seen all season long, and all of a sudden they hitting you in the Sweet 16, right? I would love to see that with football. Of course, it's a different playing field. Of course, it's like, different level of talent, whatever, how you want to write the story, how you want to say it. But I'm here for it, man. ready for it to happen. Of course, we got to wait, still a few years, whatever, for it to come to fruition. But
I think if this shit happens again next season or this coming season, I think it's gonna be coming quicker than normal. Because
if it happens again next year, it happens immediately.
Yeah, because and we've had this argument on regular 4th and 15 before. Here's the thing, and because Dave's got on a Ohio State shirt, I'm going to throw this in there. We've had arguments with people about why Ohio State has to get in. Like during COVID, it won 6 games, didn't play a conference championship, or did rather, won the conference championship, but only had 6-7 games under their belt. Everybody else was playing 2 or playing a full season. Show me somebody else not in the Power 5 or even in the Power 5 that was more consistent over the last 6-7 years since the playoff has been instituted. Show me another team besides Alabama and Ohio State that deserve to be there. Anybody? Nobody? No? Okay.
Oh, sorry. We just got some pretty significant NASCAR news. So.
Oh, no. I was saying that to be funny because everybody kept saying Ohio State doesn't need to be in the playoff. Why don't they? They're the most consistent team, not named Alabama or not named Clemson, to be in the playoff. You saw what happened when Michigan State got there. You saw what happened when Penn State got there. You saw what happened when Michigan got there.
No.
Everybody got their ass whooped with the exception of Ohio State. If Ohio State against Clemson that 1 year where I think it was either Master Teague or whoever got hurt, if he don't get hurt, Ohio State wins that game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now,
the Michigan game, everybody thought Michigan's defense was going to hold up against Georgia. Saw what happened. You saw what happened. Everybody thought Cincinnati was going to get blew out. Okay, yeah, the score makes it look that way. You can not watch a game. You can not watch a Glenville game and see when they play Lincoln West, it's 65-0 at halftime. Oh, yeah. But watch that game. Matter of fact, the best example of this, the best example I can equivalent to this was the Rhodes Glenville game last season, high school. We covered this game. Rhodes lost 22-0. If it wasn't for fumbled snaps that end up turning into scooping scores, that game looks a lot different. So I honestly believe if Cincinnati does it again and repeats, this playoff is going to get expanded real soon. And I'm almost certain Dave gave a lot of teams hope as to, hey, we can do this.
I'm going to go on that too. So, like, with regards to it, the teams have hope, and then the teams are looking at that and going, okay, if they can do it, we can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here is where the biggest issue lies when it comes to that. We talked about this earlier in the segment, right? You got those 3 dreaded letters, the NIL. With regards to that, the problem is now the players, obviously, yes, they deserve to earn money for their likeness. But then you got some players who could give a crap about a championship and they're trying to make money. And they're jumping ship to go somewhere where they have that exposure to be able to get a bigger NIL deal, right? So I think this is going to be a scenario where some of these schools that are up and coming, right, who are making these moves like Cincinnati were able to do, may run into a little bit of a challenge because of the NIL situation with some of these players.
Bro. One monkey, I'm just being honest. One monkey does not stop the show. So even if that player leaves, there's 6 more right behind him. You know that. You play college ball.
No, I remember that too, but like, I don't know. this generation, man, is different. Yeah, I don't know.
It is.
I'm kind of 50-50 with that. I'm kind of 50-50 with it, only because of that. If it was us, you know what I'm saying? Like, my pride and, my commitment to where I was or to who I was with would have still been there regardless of NIL. You know what I'm saying? Like, prime example, like the so-called quote-unquote DB assassin, I'm not going to put his name out there, right? You win a national title and you jump ship and go to the team that you just beat because of money. It's money. It's exposure.
Don't
right?
don't don't say it like I'm not gonna say don't say it like that, but I'm saying don't say it because I got a feeling the NCAA about to crack down on how this is working out.
And that's what the thing. So if they do that, then yes, I'm all in on what you're saying. Until they do that, though, I'm 50-50 with it because this generation is different, man. They're not cut the same way we were, man.
We
Their
know this.
loyalty ain't there, man.
We know this.
Sucks.
It does, but that's the way the world works now. It's all about the dollar. All right. That will conclude this episode, our debut episode of 4th and 15 on Redline Radio. We'd like to thank Redline Radio for giving us this opportunity once again. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us through Redline Radio on YouTube as well. You can find us on Twitter, Twitch, all of that. I can't keep up. Too many social media platforms for me to try to keep up with. But we will be back next week. We'll probably argue about some more shit, especially when it comes to the Browns and the Steelers. So, I do want to send a special shout out to my boy TC Thomas Cliff for our opening and closing theme song, Believe Land. So appreciate him for that. Much love. Like I said, just follow us, subscribe. We'll see y'all next week. So for 4th and 15, I'm Mel. That's Smooth. Peace.